Deep in the heart of the Iraqi desert, archaeologists uncovered something they were never meant to discover. For a brief moment, it felt as if history itself was about to be rewritten. Word spread quickly. They had found something extraordinary. But almost instantly silence fell. The site was sealed, the team refused to speak, and the truth was buried as if it had never existed. What they had stumbled upon was so disturbing, it threatened to destroy everything we thought we knew about the ancient past. Rumors spoke of documents tied to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body, and even the burial site of the Nephilim. Requests for these files were made. Each one was denied. Each one was denied again. The desert was hiding a secret. In 2003, a group of scientists uncovered the dream of every archaeologist, and the nightmare some feared most, the tomb of the legendary King Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was no ordinary ruler. He was the superstar king of Uruk, described as part human and part god. His epic story, carved onto clay tablets over 4,000 years ago, is the oldest tale humanity has preserved. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as myth, nothing more than a fantastic legend like Hercules or Achilles. Powerful, yes, but make-believe. And then, with one quiet beep, everything changed. A team led by Jörg Fassbinder, a geophysicist from Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich, wasn't even digging. They were scanning the ground near ancient Uruk, using advanced radar and magnetometers, tools like X-ray vision for the Earth. What appeared on their screens left them stunned. Beneath the desert floor was the outline of a massive structure as large as a football field. The shape revealed corridors, chambers, and a central room, all surrounded by what looked like the traces of ancient canals. This perfectly matched ancient descriptions of Gilgamesh's lost tomb. The story grows stranger. Ancient texts describe Gilgamesh's burial beneath the Euphrates River itself. According to legend, his people diverted the river, constructed his tomb in the dry riverbed, then let the waters flow back, hiding it forever. And the scans were found right next to the modern Euphrates, a river known to have shifted course over thousands of years. It meant the river had moved, leaving the tomb buried in dry desert sands. They had found it. It should have been the discovery of the century. But then came silence. The year was 2003. Iraq was in chaos, torn apart by invasion. The team was forced to abandon their work, fleeing for safety. Their groundbreaking find was drowned out. It warned that any king or ruler who dared to disturb his father's rest would have his royal scepter snapped in two and his throne cast down. This wasn't just a chilling tale. It was a direct threat, carefully designed to protect a family's legacy by striking at the very symbols of power. In Mesopotamia, the homeland of Gilgamesh, this tradition of protective magic ran deep. Unlike the Egyptians, they didn't carve curses into tomb walls, but they absolutely believed in powerful, invisible forces. Ancient clay tablets describe rituals meant to guard the dead. These weren't about traps with poison darts or rolling stones. Their defenses were far more terrifying. They called upon the gods themselves, summoning divine punishment against anyone who dared violate a king's eternal rest. Disturbing such a tomb, they believed, could unleash plagues, madness, or far worse upon the intruder. So while no direct curse has ever been found tied to Gilgamesh's tomb, the belief that it might be protected by unseen forces is no mere superstition. It's rooted in their culture. The real fear isn't that the site is booby-trapped, but that it could be guarded by something divine. And once the archaeologists abandoned their work, the stories began to spread. In today's digital world, whispers from the desert can erupt into a worldwide echo overnight. Rumors of a curse grew, fueled by eerie accounts and strange theories online. Locals near the site claimed that even animals behaved oddly. Dogs howled at nothing and refused to go near the ruins. Birds shifted their flight paths to avoid the air above it. Even herds of sheep and goats would suddenly veer away, refusing to graze on that cursed stretch of land. Then came the human stories. One unverified account told of a small crew setting up a drilling rig there in the mid-2000s. Within days, the entire team supposedly fell sick with a violent, unexplained fever and had to be evacuated. The tale spread through private chats and forums, always told with the same ominous phrasing: the earth itself rejected them. The echoes of this fear mirror the so-called curse of the pharaohs linked to King Tut's tomb a century ago. Even though no curse was ever written there, people believed it was protected by unseen powers. The same is now happening with Gilgamesh. An alleged leaked memo from an Iraqi official, never proven real, supposedly recommended halting all work at the site due to strange interference and mounting local resistance. That single rumor sent the internet spiraling into theories about alien relics, ancient seals, and imprisoned gods of the underworld. True or not, these stories have built a powerful wall of fear, one strong enough to keep Gilgamesh's tomb untouched for more than 20 years. And the truth is, what archaeologists truly fear isn't just a ghost story. At one point, technicians claimed their instruments picked up a faint rhythmic signal beneath the ground, a low hum that seemed almost alive. These strange anomalies echoed old legends about sealed tombs, places where technology malfunctioned and invisible fields resisted intrusion. None of this has ever been proven, nor published in peer-reviewed journals. But for those who worked with the scans, the data felt unsettling, as if what lay below wasn't dead stone at all, but something still active. The cost wasn't only scientific, it was human. 2 members of the original team reportedly walked away from archaeology altogether. One spoke of suffering spiritual trauma from the experience. A German academic who knew them both said they never mentioned the work again. If true, such personal fallout only added to a troubling pattern. Research teams stopped applying for permits. Institutions quietly kept their distance, and the site itself drifted into a kind of professional no man's land. The fear here isn't just superstition, it's practical. Imagine opening a tomb and finding a body that doesn't fit within history's timeline. A skeleton far larger than expected. A corpse preserved in ways no science can explain. Or artifacts made from materials that do not belong to any known era. Such a discovery would force humanity to rewrite the story of its own origins. And with that, careers, reputations, funding, and even national politics could be torn apart. One wrong move could destroy lives as easily as it could destroy research. Mainstream historians dismiss the more extreme rumors, reminding the public that sensational stories spread quickly while hard evidence remains thin. Still, the insider accounts have left their mark. Teams refuse to return, permits remain stalled, and conversations that could lead to controlled research simply never begin. At the core of it all is one unsettling question. What if the ancient texts aren't memorials at all? What if they're warnings? What if those words were never meant to honor the dead, but to guard the living? In that case, archaeologists aren't just unearthing relics. They are unlocking something sealed, a lock that, once turned, might change everything. This is the deeper reason so few dare to try. The tomb is locked not only by war and weather, but also by fear. And beyond the whispers of curses, there are more ordinary, and in some ways even more frightening, reasons why Gilgamesh's tomb has stayed sealed. They are rooted in the real world. Danger, politics, and money. Picture it, planning the most delicate excavation in history, in the middle of an active conflict zone. That's the first obstacle. The supposed tomb site is not in a safe or protected desert. It lies in southern Iraq, a region scarred by decades of war and unrest. Before lifting a single shovel, any expedition would need military escorts, approval from multiple layers of government, and the support of local tribal leaders. A single wrong step could spark a political crisis, or worse, cost lives. And then there is the land itself. Southern Iraq is merciless. The heat is crushing, with temperatures soaring to unbearable extremes. Sudden, violent dust storms can sweep across the desert without warning, scouring equipment and halting work for days. And after the dust, flash floods may follow, transforming dry riverbeds into raging torrents that wash away tools, tents, and evidence. For delicate high-tech instruments, the very tools needed to scan, measure, and excavate such a site. This environment is nothing short of a nightmare. Ground-penetrating radar and mapping drones often fail in the brutal heat and choking dust of southern Iraq. The financial toll of broken machines, long delays, and lost equipment is staggering. No university or research institute wants to gamble millions of dollars on a project that could literally be erased overnight by a sandstorm or flood. And then there's the sacred duty of preservation. If this really is the tomb, even one wrong step could destroy it forever. Imagine a 4,000-year-old clay tablet covered in cuneiform writing. The second it's exposed to modern air, it could crumble to powder. Ancient fabrics, wooden artifacts, or even the remains of the king himself could disintegrate in moments. To do this right, you'd need a mobile laboratory on site, complete with climate control, specialists ready to stabilize every fragile piece, and years of meticulous preparation. Without that, opening the tomb wouldn't be discovery, it would be destruction. And yet the warnings didn't matter. The strange signals, the rumors of danger, none of it stopped the United States from launching a mission that looked less like science and more like a dare, as if someone wanted to see what would happen if the seal was broken, the hidden mission. In the chaos of Baghdad, the world watched in shock as Iraq's National Museum was looted, bombs had fallen, the government had collapsed, and priceless treasures of history were stolen in broad daylight. But while the cameras focused on the capital's streets, something else was unfolding hundreds of miles away. In the quiet desert near ancient Uruk, a small group of American soldiers arrived at a patch of sand marked on a German team's radar scans. Their mission, according to persistent whispers, wasn't to guard an oil field or protect government buildings. It was to secure the very site that might hold the tomb of King Gilgamesh. This is where archaeology collides with modern conspiracy, and the story begins to spiral. Not long after the discovery was first announced, then suddenly erased from public view, reports began to surface. Locals and even a handful of journalists claimed to see U.S. military convoys parked at the exact coordinates of the supposed tomb. The archaeologists who had uncovered the site were long gone, driven away by the violence. So why were soldiers there? The official explanation, if there was one, would likely be that the military was protecting a culturally significant site from looters. But in the absence of real information, speculation exploded. A darker theory began to take shape, one that claimed the invasion of Iraq was about more than politics or oil. Some believed the tomb of Gilgamesh wasn't just an ancient grave. They argue it was a vault, one that held secrets far beyond history, advanced technology, forbidden knowledge, perhaps even something not meant to be found at all. Cryptic knowledge from a civilization so advanced it almost feels alien. That's what some believe lies hidden beneath the sands of Iraq. These theories tap into popular fringe beliefs about the Sumerians, the culture that seemed to give humanity civilization overnight. They invented advanced mathematics, precise astronomy, monumental architecture, and the earliest form of writing. For many, the question is obvious. Where did this knowledge come from? And for some, the answer is chilling. The tomb of their greatest king might hold the secret. Could it contain technology we still cannot understand? Could it reveal the blueprint of lost science? Or even worse, could it hold the very secret that Gilgamesh himself pursued, immortality? The possibilities only fuel the fears. One of the most sensational theories claims that the military wasn't just after a tomb at all, but a device, a stargate. According to some interpretations of Sumerian texts, this mythical technology could allow travel between dimensions or even across the universe. The idea gained massive traction in 1976 when Zecharia Sitchin published The 12th Planet. Unlike traditional scholars, Sitchin argued that the Sumerian tablets weren't symbolic myths, but literal records of real events. In his view, the so-called gods were visitors, beings with advanced knowledge. He claimed the Sumerians understood planets invisible to the naked eye, charted the slow wobble of the Earth's equinoxes, and even described complex medical procedures that shouldn't have been possible in such an early age. Mainstream historians dismiss these interpretations as pure science fiction. But the secrecy surrounding the possible tomb of Gilgamesh has given these theories new life. When official answers vanish into silence, speculation grows stronger. And here's the unsettling part. The idea of the U.S. taking treasures from Mesopotamia isn't born entirely from fantasy. It is rooted in a very real, very tragic event: the mass looting of Iraq's National Museum during the Gulf War and again during the U.S. invasion. In those chaotic days with law and order collapsing, thieves stormed the museum and stole more than 15,000 priceless artifacts, the very lifeblood of Mesopotamian history. Among the most infamous stolen treasures was the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, a 3,500-year-old clay tablet inscribed with part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It was smuggled into the United States, where it was later purchased by Hobby Lobby for $1.67 million and displayed in their Museum of the Bible. In a stunning twist, the U.S. Department of Justice seized the artifact, investigated the case, and in 2021 returned it to Iraq, along with over 17,000 other looted pieces. On the surface, this was a great victory for cultural preservation, but beneath it, the mystery only deepens. Was Gilgamesh's tomb also opened? Was it empty? Was it filled with artifacts now hidden away in a secret warehouse? Or did it contain something so shocking, so destabilizing, that the truth had to be buried deeper than the tomb itself? The return of the Dream Tablet proves beyond doubt that the looting was real. And it leaves behind an unsettling question. If they took this, what else might have been taken? Suddenly, the fate of the tomb is no longer just a conspiracy theory. It becomes a haunting mystery, the Tomb of Fear. Gilgamesh of Uruk is remembered not only as one of history's first recorded kings, but also as one of its most feared. Whether through fact or legend, his reign is stained with cruelty, arrogance, and violence so severe that even today, whispers of his tomb carry an air of dread. To open his resting place would not simply be an archaeological act, it would be to unseal the legacy of a man remembered as both hero and tyrant. Gilgamesh, the fifth king of Uruk around 2700 BCE, was both admired and feared. Under his rule, the city rose to power through conquest, forced labor, and oppression. His people may have respected his strength, but they also dreaded his cruelty. Ancient memory of his harsh reign likely fueled the terrifying legends that followed. He died like any ruler, probably from illness or old age, and was buried near Uruk, close to the Euphrates River. But myths transformed him into something far darker. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, he's portrayed as a tyrant who drove men into endless labor and abused women until the gods created Enkidu to challenge him. Instead of overthrowing Gilgamesh, Enkidu became his closest ally, and together they unleashed more destruction, killing Humbaba, the forest guardian, ignoring his pleas for mercy and angering the gods. The worst came when Gilgamesh insulted Ishtar. In vengeance, she sent the bull of heaven to punish Uruk. Hundreds died as the beast trampled the city and split the earth beneath its hooves. Though Gilgamesh and Enkidu killed it, the gods cursed them, sentencing Enkidu to die. Fact and myth blur together, but both traditions agree. Gilgamesh left behind immense suffering. His tomb is feared because disturbing it could mean awakening the shadow of a ruler remembered for terror. When reports of the tomb's discovery emerged, archaeology split in two. Official institutions stayed silent, refusing to comment, while others raged. Some seeing a lost chance to rewrite history, others condemning reckless methods. The biggest demand was for transparency. Where was the evidence? Where were the papers, the photos, the proof? Instead, there was nothing. This silence turned the discovery into a ghost story. Independent researcher Marcus Ellery even published an open letter, urging the German team and Iraqi authorities to release information. Whether or not it was truly Gilgamesh's tomb, he argued, the site was too important to ignore. But like all others, his questions were met with silence. Silence only deepened suspicion. A powerful cleric warned in a sermon that disturbing Gilgamesh's tomb would unleash forces beyond human understanding. His words carried weight. Local tribal councils soon barred foreign archaeologists. By 2010, the site was locked down under military control, its secrets buried deeper than ever. But now, a slow light is returning to Iraq. After decades of war, international teams are cautiously back, uncovering treasures in places like Larsa, a vast ancient city where archaeologists have already found a royal palace and dozens of cuneiform tablets. Baghdad's National Museum has reopened, and in Mosul, experts painstakingly rebuild artifacts destroyed by ISIS. This revival makes the silence around Gilgamesh's tomb even more haunting. The dangers have faded, the tools are sharper, and the world is ready. All that remains is the question: will Uruk finally reveal the resting place of its legendary king? The hope is that one day soon, archaeology will give us the answer.